Well, good Tuesday morning to you, ladies and gentlemen, everyone joining us for another episode of Making Memz, coming to you live from the Channel Seed Studios. Those seedsmen are out there working hard, making deals right now, spending a lot of time with farmers. Great people. Anybody involved with ag, I shouldn't say anybody, 94%, because every industry's got some turds. 94% of people involved with ag, great people. So we're coming to you from the Channel Seed Studios. I am Adam Pedersen, and the beautiful face that you all see beside me is Mr. Jordan Bohannon. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good. Good morning, sir. I just
Good morning.
love the mornings. I love it.
Is that sarcasm?
No, well, maybe if you asked me if I had to get up for 6 a.m. lifting session, then maybe I would say,
There you go.
I can't. But
Yeah.
the Labor Days are over.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I do. Boy, morning lifts not my thing anymore. I like to get up early, go to the farm, get some farm work done, then go back and do like a late morning, early afternoon lift when the body's really had some time to loosen up, especially in old age.
I don't
You
know
feel
why.
a lot better midday.
Yeah, I could never. I like how we're just starting this so random.
Let's go, baby.
I don't know why, but I could never get a good lift in the mornings. Like I just couldn't. If I could run all day and have a great running session, like go on the treadmill, or like in college if we had like conditioning in the morning, I would love that shit. But I don't know, for some reason, dude, I could not like fathom trying to lift weights at 6 a.m. I couldn't.
Well, I'm sure the body's not like. Well, I don't know. I suppose if you give yourself the proper warm up, it's fine to do it in the morning. Who was the biggest weightlifting animal that you had as a teammate at Iowa?
Oh,
Wait, let me take a guess. I bet people will want to guess. My guess. So I talked about this with you on the podcast we did before we ever started this. My guess would be Tyler Cook.
So the thing about Tyler, I'm glad you brought his name up because I was going to say this. The thing about Tyler is I don't know if I believed him because he was a massive human being. His legs were bigger than my body. But with Tyler, dude, he would get in the weight room and he would always say, yeah, like I never lifted growing up. And this dude would go in and like bench, 285, like it's nothing for 10 reps.
Well, that's not fair.
That's what I said. He didn't have to do anything. I'm over here busting my balls to try to get to 185 on bench. I can barely get there.
Man.
But he was massive. But no, I don't know. I played with so many people. Jeez. Ahmad Wagner was an animal.
Oh, yeah. He was football and basketball, wasn't he, there for a while?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So we would do these pull-ups or pull-ups, the one with your arms this way, not that way. Is that pull-ups or chin-ups?
Yeah, pull-ups. Yeah. Well, yeah, I think pull-ups. Chin-ups is the other way.
Yeah. So we do like these supersets at the end, and one of our splits or whatever you call them it was pull-ups with the weighted pull-ups.
Mm-hmm.
And I would always be able to be because I'm the lightest one, so I would put the most weight on. So I'd wrap it around, and it was one day in sophomore year, and the strength coach would always hype me up because he knew this was my shit. Because I'd always throw the heavy dumbbell on because I could get it done. And I'm looking over, and I think Ahmad Wagner took it personal one day, and I put like a 60, 65 on maybe. And I look over, Ahmad's doing like a 75 all of a sudden. I'm like, this dude is just an animal. Like, just pumped them out. I'm like, where has this been all? Incredible. I've never seen someone be able to lift more weight than him.
It must be nice. I've done pull-ups once in my entire life, and it was in high school when we had to do the I don't even remember what they called it. It was like the American something test that was required for everyone in the country to do in high school. I don't know if I think they stopped doing it, but you had to do pull-ups and you had to do a bunch of other stuff. And so our whole class for PE is in there. So it's like boys, girls, everything. And I love the weight room. I can throw some weight around. I'm strong. I'm a big boy, though. Pull-ups not my thing. So I'm struggling for like my second one. I barely get it up in front of everyone. Just rip a big old toot. Right in front of the whole class. Just dropped a bomb on them for everyone to hear. And I was like, I don't know if it did, but it was definitely, I mean, everyone got a kick out of it, laughed. Thankfully, I'm someone who doesn't really get embarrassed. I can just laugh at myself. And so I tried to make a joke out of it. But yeah, there for the whole class as I struggled to pull myself up. I got up there and with that extra oomph, dropped one right on the class.
You know, it's funny, like just the thought of, you know, how farting is just such a not a normal thing. People take it like when you do it in public, but it becomes a funny, like if someone farted in class in middle school,
whole class is dying laughing.
The whole class, you couldn't even focus on like the next hour because everyone was just dying laughing. And then the whole talk around school is the kid that farted in class for the rest of the week.
Oh man, and especially if you put just the right, if you want to do it on purpose, put just the right amount of lean on it off those hard plastic chairs in middle school, you could hear that thing 3 classrooms down.
Yeah, but if you put the wrong lean on it, then you might have a little something come out.
Yeah, boy. Might have to call mommy and go home and change your pants.
Yeah. That never had to happen to me, surprisingly.
Dude.
Growing up, did you ever poop your pants?
Dude, I did not. But I have a story. Oh my gosh, here we go. All right. I'm not going to name names, but we were in first grade and we were sitting down for show and tell. And a girl in my class, so back when I was a kid, like the style was like denim overalls for girls. They'd wear these denim like overalls that were shorts. A girl goes to sit down and a little rabbit turd. She like poops a little rabbit turd, drops out of her shorts onto the floor, and one of my buddies sat in it. And I watched the whole thing. And I never said anything because I didn't know what to do. And then he got up for show and tell. He was walking around the rest of the day at school looking like he had a smushed milk dud on the back of his Oshkosh shorts. No one told him. And to this day, I think I'm the only one in our class who saw it because every time I tell a friend, they don't believe me. But I witnessed it. A little rabbit turd, and he sat right in it.
That's so unsanitary too. So you went the whole day just sitting down on
it looked like someone microwaved a milk dud and stuck it right on his right butt cheek.
Okay, that is wild.
Oh, that's my poop your pants story of the week.
Wow.
Boy, we came in hot on this podcast.
Well, yeah, I came in hot on the podcast. It was a little late. It's about 7 minutes. I was coming hot too. There's a reason for that.
Yeah, well, you got to get them morning movements through the body.
It just happened so fast. I just didn't.
Okay. Well, that's probably enough poop talk for today, don't you think?
Yeah.
All righty. Well, the Hawkeyes have had a rough go of it lately, buddy. They've dropped 3 in a row by, I think, an average of 18. Purdue, we all thought could be the case. Iowa State, huge rivalry game. We thought could be the case also. Big environment, got some young guys on the team. The Michigan game was a little disappointing. What's your thoughts right now? You're a former player. You know a lot of these guys. You are friends with the coach. What's your thoughts on the state of the Hawks right now?
Yeah, I mean, if people remember when we talked about the first episode, we talked heavily about Iowa basketball and kind of what was laying ahead for them and laid the foundation of what this season was going to, what was going to be like. I mean, I'm not one to really ever worry, especially, I mean, now I don't really care if they win or lose. Obviously, I want them to win every game. It doesn't really impact me like it used to, but I think they're going to be okay in the long run. My thoughts is, like we talked about the first episode, Adam, that this was probably going to be a huge rebuilding year for the team and Fran and trying to figure out and decipher who he's going to play going forward, not just this year, but in the future years too. So I didn't expect them to drop 3 in a row at any point in the season, but I wouldn't be surprised them being mid pack to bottom pack of the Big Ten. I mean, that wouldn't shock me at all just by looking at the overall conference and looking at how Iowa's playing this year. But again, like we also talked about, if they're able to pull a little run together, they can make a run into the NCAA tournament. The only problem is, like we said, they're just running out opportunities. Iowa State was a huge opportunity. If they were able to go in there, that was going to be a huge quad one win to get their season kind of jump started and make a little momentum push. Michigan, also, that's a game you can't lose. You can't lose a home opener in Big Ten. You know, that is just starting off on the wrong foot of 0-2 is such a huge I don't think people realize that one game difference from going 1-1 because Purdue, let's be honest, the odds weren't in their favor to win that game.
Yep.
They played a team that just came off a loss to Northwestern. They were just primed to get blown out at home by Purdue. But going into Michigan, you cannot lose at home after going 0-1 Big Ten Conference. I know it's easier said than done, but at the end of the day, starting 0-2, that is a huge, huge uphill battle trying to get back into talks of middle of the pack. Because if we're not middle of the pack in Big Ten, they don't have a shot at making the NCAA tournament this year.
Yeah. Yeah, and then starting 0-2, it hurts even more. Like the Michigan game, you're at home. There was a pretty decent crowd there. With 18 minutes to go in the game, Iowa was ahead. And then it seems like this team, when another team gets hot, makes some big shots, Iowa has a turnover, the team will go down and hit a layup after maybe a couple threes, and all of a sudden it's an 8-0 run. It looks like they get a little scared or a little nervous or like, oh my gosh, we got to stop this. And this is kind of leading into a point I wanted to make and ask you about is they seem to panic a little when a run like that happens. And I think to me, watching the games, they feel a little, this sounds mean, but they feel a little leaderless. I don't think there's one or two guys really stepping up to calm the storm or that can go down and get a bucket like Luka, Wieskamp, the Murrays. I mean, going back to Aaron White, Tyler Cook, they had guys. I feel like you guys kind of relished in like stopping the run. We'll go down and get a bucket, or we'll yell at our teammates, and like we've got the respect from them. They'll listen, and I don't know. It just feels like it's a bunch of guys out there but there's not one guy that can step up and do that. I was hoping that maybe it would be Tony Perkins. I'm just not sure if he has that gene in him to stop those runs. But to me, the Hawks feel a little leaderless. But maybe I'm being too harsh.
No, I mean, I think being critical is necessary right now because they're definitely struggling on a lot of parts of everyone's basketball game right now as an individual and as a team. Because there's been a few of my friends just asking me about them, like what's the future going to be like, how they look, and how do you think they've been playing? Just the exact same way you've been asking. And another thing I've been saying too is, which goes along with your point perfectly, is they are leaderless. They don't have a guy that I'm not necessarily even saying a guy that's going to come in and get a bucket whenever they need one. That's someone that's just a bucket getter. I wouldn't constitute that as a leader. Obviously, there's bucket getters that are leaders as well too, which Iowa has had a lot of them. I think the main thing they're lacking right now on top of the leader list is a guy is a leader that's vocal and willing to hold people accountable on the court. Exactly what you're saying. There's not a guy I'm seeing right now that's able to even the little things, Adam. Like, this is what I see when I'm watching games, that when there's a dead ball, there's no the 5 Iowa Hawkeye jerseys huddling around each other talking through situations that just occurred or what's going to happen. I mean, stuff like that is huge in my opinion. Just having those little talks throughout the game when there's dead balls, having 5 guys come together. Also, I just feel like there's a huge lack of communication as a team as a whole, and that goes along with that point. But also, look at if a guy falls down on the ground, there should be 5 Iowa jerseys that go up, or 4 Iowa jerseys around that guy to go and help him up off the ground. Just little stuff like that is what I see. And, I want them to do really well. And I know Franz is talking about these little things too, because he's always brought this up to me, because I've always tried to, be that guy that's able to do that. Connor was huge on that too. He wasn't the most just, stat heavy guy, but he was able to master the leadership of bringing everyone together on the floor and being able to accomplish and stay on the same page. I think that's where teams struggle a lot at this level, is they have really good talent. They just they're not on the same page ever. And I think Iowa, you see that right now. There's just guys that are they're not necessarily selfish, but you have freshmen coming in that are really great. They're talented players, but they're just worried about playing right now. And I was the same. Everyone's in the same situation when you're a freshman. You're just worried about getting playing time. But the great teams are able to bring those freshmen along as the season goes on, or the sophomores that are coming up and starting to work for more playing time. The seniors are stepping in and saying, no, this is how we do this. Franz always does what he does, but Fran can say whatever he wants. He has to have guys on the floor that are actually the coaches on the floor to be able to have this happen. And I know this, because you brought up the leadership role. I agree with you 100%. There's not one person out there right now that is willing to step up and say, and take this team by their grip and say, this is my team. You guys listen when we're on the floor. I'm going to guide you guys. We're all going to be on the same page, and we're all going to move the same direction. I don't see that right now.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up Connor. His absence is very evident to me. One of the most annoying things I would see on social media and hear from my friends and stuff that weren't Iowa fans while Connor was a Hawk was that they all would say he's not good at basketball. And it would drive me nuts because he did so much for a team that did not go into a stat book, but with his leadership, his toughness, and his incredible passing, and just his ability to kind of weather the storms at times. His leadership is sorely missed right now. I think you can tell. So I'm glad you brought him up. Man, another thing I noticed is we are getting smoked in the post in these games. Iowa State, Robert Jones. Now, granted, their post players are 23, 24 years old. We got some young guys, but Cricky, I think he's 22 or 23. Michigan has two post players that get career highs in points against Iowa. One of them 8 minutes into the game, and the other one early in the second half. Robert Jones for Iowa State looks like an All-American against us. And I'm very high on Owen Freeman. He's young, so he's got to learn a little bit and get aggressive. But I just wish that this sounds kind of silly, but I was a post player in high school. I went up against the guys a lot bigger than me. I feel like the guys we have could do it, could step up, get aggressive, start making more of an impact and stopping some of the other team's post players. But it's got to be a mindset. It's got to be something that switches on where you want to be aggressive, maybe a little bit of a psycho for the sake of your team. But yeah, the post play is hurting us bad in these games.
Yeah, I mean, you look at it too. I mean, we can talk about the Iowa State game in a second, but Michigan, we scored 80 points. It's not like our offense was kind of lacking the first half a little bit, but I mean, they still put up 80 points. The problem was they gave up 90 to a team that shouldn't be scoring 90 points. And, that goes along with, I tweeted out something last night about questions of anyone has for us. And one of them was about the defensive end. And I always get this question about how Fran does Fran really teach defense? He doesn't really show because you guys are always really high in the defensive efficiency normally. And, my response is always the same way. Like, yeah, we work on defense 95% of the practice. Obviously, it's all catered towards the offense because that's where our whole team is catered towards, is scoring points. But the thing is, teams under Coach McCaffrey will never, ever be in the top 15 defensively teams. I'm talking about just going off to like KenPom efficiency ratings. They'll never, ever be in the top 15 just because of how we play offensively. So we're always going to be having more possessions as a team than anyone else in the country. We're always going to have more shots being taken more than anyone in the country. And with more possessions, that comes up with more possessions for the defense or the opposing team as well, too. So there's always going to be a more chance for teams that we play to have more points per game just because of how fast we play and up-tempo we play. So and Coach McCaffrey, Coach Sparrow, who retired here recently, they were always big on letting it known that we have to try to be in the top 75 defensively. That puts us up in a great position where we're always going to be top 3, top 2 offensively. But if we're able to go from 110 or I think this year they're 150 plus or 130 plus or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
They're able just to go into the top 75. That's not even the top 50 or top 25 that are ranked schools.
Mm-hmm.
That's a huge difference because obviously, a efficiency rating is efficiency rating, but just being in that top 75, I think of the 66 or 64 schools that make an NCAA tournament, I don't even know how many teams make an NCAA tournament anymore with the play-in games. Was it 64?
68
or 68? Yeah.
Yep, 68, I believe.
Yeah, I don't even count that play-in game as a.
No, they're dumb. I didn't like the expansion.
Yeah, it's stupid. But anyway, of the 68 teams, let's say, of those teams that get into the Sweet 16, I think my last 4 years, we ran the stat when I was at Iowa. I think in the Sweet 16, all 15 of the 16 teams were in the top 50 of defensive efficiency.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, that stat tells you right there. I mean, you don't have to be the best of the best defensively, but
yeah,
Iowa has done it where they've been in that range, and you saw our teams did really well. So that's my point. Long point I'm getting at is if you ever just make a little switch like that, we're never going to be a top defensive team. And I don't think our fans want us to be a top defensive team. Yes,
Nope.
They might say that right now, but you'd rather watch an offensive heavy team than a defensive heavy team. I think we've had that established on the football side of things.
Yeah. Yes. Oh man. Well, it's the opposite of football. Iowa football defense, awesome. Offense, we're just begging for like top 90. That's all we want.
And always this is such an Iowa thing too. Like how
we
big
just
sports
get the top
fans
90?
We're just we're so close. Like each team, just put it together.
Yep. Well, I have some more thoughts on Iowa, but we should talk Iowa State too because we got other things to get to. The nice thing about Iowa coming up, Florida A&M, Maryland, Baltimore County, Northern Illinois. Next 3 games. Great opportunity, I think, to forget some of these crappy 3 losses. Hopefully put together 3 good wins. Maybe gel a little bit more. I did want to touch on one more thing. Peyton Sanford, after the Iowa State game, said that Iowa's just going through some stuff right now. There's a lot of stuff going on in the locker room. He said, if we just stick together, love each other, and support each other through that we will be able to rebound and come together. I know there's been some stuff in the past emotionally with some guys. I know Tony just lost his grandmother, and so should we look too much into that? I mean, I know that might be a galvanizing point where guys are going through stuff to come together. I don't know what it is, but maybe that lends a little bit to what's been going on.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a big proponent of, I love Peyton to death. He's one of my favorite teammates, and he was someone I really wrapped my arm around when he got into Iowa because, I saw some really great potential in him that he was able to, he was a lot like me, right? Like he's an Iowa kid that just always wanted to play at Iowa, and I thought so highly of him because of his dream of playing at Iowa. So we got along really great, and he is playing no matter how much critical people get. I mean, he's having a good year. He is. Mm-hmm. He's not shooting the ball as well from 3, but he's still in the high 30s, and which is really good. He's rebounding the hell out of the ball, but I'm not a big proponent of getting mid-season. How do I want to put this correctly? Giving insight, I guess, not necessarily insight, because I'd give insight too all the time when I was at Iowa, but I don't know how to exactly word this right, but not putting the spotlight on something else.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, where it almost is like there's an excuse a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah. I'm not saying that's what he was trying to do because I know exactly what he was, getting at. He probably was asking a really poor question, and he was trying to, he's trying to talk it through of not sounding like an excuse, but also letting everyone know what is happening. Because I don't doubt them all. I mean, I'm sure there's always stuff happening mid-season. I mean, it's a shit show during season because there's so many highs, there's so many lows, and the lows are rock bottom for a lot of people because this is their everything here.
Yeah.
And when you're losing, it's the worst feeling in the world. You don't want to go out in public. You don't want to show your face, all that stuff. So, I'm not a huge proponent of letting more light into that area. Not saying he was trying to make an excuse, but, they just have to keep moving on. And, that's something I told Peyton personally too. I reached out to him. I said, just keep doing what you're doing. You know what to do. There's no secret to what you're doing. I mean, you keep working hard, you keep putting in the time, you keep believing in each other, flash a couple smiles at practice, and that goes a long way. Just continue to do what you're doing. So I didn't want to come off like that, like as a excuse that he's trying to, but we
know what you mean.
Yeah.
Right on. All right. Well, because it is Iowa everywhere, let's hop over and talk Iowa State. But before we do, we got to be Iowa State, one of the top agricultural schools in the world. And speaking of ag, how about Terraplex Ag? A great sponsor of this podcast and a partner of Iowa Everywhere. They specialize in drone technology, which is becoming more and more prevalent in agriculture today. It allows you to get a good aerial view of your field, maybe see where some nutrients are lacking in certain areas. Maybe you can, if you lose a cow, you can take your drone out and find out where in the world it's running around the countryside and go wrangle it up. There's been a few nights where I could have used a drone. They're great. They're a great company. You should look into them. Any need you have. They've got big drones, small drones. They've got ones that can go out and apply stuff on your fields. So go check out our friends at Terraplex Ag. Even if you're not a farmer and you just want a drone to have some fun with or do some projects with, check them out. They'll help you out. I've never met them, but because they're a sponsor of our podcast, I love them, and I think they're great.
You know what I always thought, and you have way more insight than I do, obviously. When I've been driving through the countryside, especially going to Western Iowa,
yep,
and there's during the season where they fly the planes and they drop everything on pesticides or whatever.
Yep.
I've always thought, like, there's got to be a better way to do this. There has to be a better way. Is that bad to say or stupid to say?
No, there's multiple ways to do it. There's the airplane, which is tried and true, done for years. Helicopters have since become a thing now where they can do it it's a little more slowly, but they can get in some corners and around some areas that the planes don't always get. These things called Hawkeyes have become a new, it's a ground sprayer, but the sides of it go super, super high. So you can go out and do corn late season. And now we have drones. So there's 4 options. Planes are, gosh, it's been so long since I've even got the price on the difference of them. I don't even know which one's the most efficient way to do it now. But the planes do work. The one problem is that they can scare your livestock a little. Because let me tell you, buddy, we use planes off and on. When those things fly over top of you, it is so loud. And you don't really hear it coming until it's directly over top of you. I've been out in the field before in the summer, like raking hay. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, over the top of the tractor, and just absolutely, we were talking early in the podcast about pooping pants. It about causes that.
What's the price? What's the price on like per hour? Or I don't know how they calculate.
It's probably per acre, and I don't even want to say a wrong number. I honestly have no clue. It's been a while since we've done it. I have honestly no idea, but it's probably not cheap.
I would imagine just the time to get a pilot to go, because you have to have a special license to fly that low, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, I imagine if you did like 80 acres, say it costs you $5,000. Hopefully, you're hoping that it's going to give you $10,000 of extra yield potential on the field with the nutrients you're putting on, and so hopefully you got to spend that, and then you make a little extra money with the foliar feed you're putting on late season. So there's roughly a number, probably.
Yeah, I was always fascinated about it. Like,
yeah, it's
how
neat.
low those planes go.
Yeah, it's wild. It is pretty wild.
Yeah, I think it's
so
cool. But I've always thought there's got to be a better way. Props to those people, but there's got to be a better way.
It's probably whoever you ask. There's probably people that say, I love the plane. There's probably people that say, oh, these new drones are the way to go. And if you do go that way, get them at Terraplex Ag. And there's also probably people that say the high boys are the way to go. So it probably just depends on who you ask.
What's the Hoggy? What was he talking?
Haggy, that's like the high boy. So if you ever see like the big tall sprayers going down the road, it's the ones that can drive into the corn when it's like 10 feet tall, and their booms on the side that are spraying stuff are still go high enough to go above the corn and not run it all down.
What the tires don't?
Tires are very narrow. You do run a little over when you turn, but it's not a ton where it's like going to hurt you bad. And usually it can come back a little and stand up enough where you can still grab it with the combine when you're out there in the fall.
Can you do that with beans too, or is that just corn?
You can do it with beans. Yep.
We
got to get you out on the farm this fall or this summer hanging out.
Oh, yeah.
We'll do some making Memz videos out on the farm together. Then we'll go play a round of golf. It'll be a good time.
I want to milk a cow.
Well, I'll have an opportunity, I'm sure, for you at some point. The thing you got to watch out for. So sometimes these calves, they'll just be a little slow getting going when they're born. And so I'll get the mom in a head gate, and then there's like a little side gate you can open once you get her in. And then we bring the calf over and we'll start like milking it, and we'll hold the calf's head up there with its mouth open, trying to shoot milk from the udder into its mouth. And you like lead it with your finger a little bit. Hopefully it'll start sucking on your finger with the milk on it, and you can lead it to the udder. Doesn't always work. And then you got to bottle feed. But what you got to be careful for is these cows sometimes do not like when a human grabs onto their teat. And so you reach in there. I've gotten kicked so many times by these stupid cows. We're just trying to help them save their babies. You think they'd be a little nicer, but I wish you could talk to cows. I wish that was a superpower I had. Oh, but man, I've gotten kicked so many times. Then it makes me mad, and then I have a temper tantrum. Then I like use their udders for speed bags and punch them out of anger. And I shouldn't do that. That doesn't help anything, getting mad.
Isn't like when you milk a cow, it's supposed to be like a really good release of pressure for them, or is that just myth?
No, it is. And then once they like it because as it builds up, they don't like it. And so after 3 or 4 kicks, eventually they hopefully get used to it and they stop stomping on you. Those sons of guns.
Yeah. They're violent creatures.
Oh yeah. You should see a mean one if we have like 2 that are very protective when the calf is born. You don't want to be in there. You don't want to get near the calf. They're coming at you. You better have your running shoes on. You better have your PF flyers on, like Benny the Jet Rodriguez, and get out of there.
That's what it sounds like. They get kind of aggressive.
Yeah, most part, they're all good. But we have 2 of them when their calf is born, very protective. We actually have one when we move it to the other barn. My dad will be on the skid loader, like keeping the cow out of the way and moving the cow along while I'm bringing the calf behind him. But he's using the skid loader to keep the cow away from me and stomping me out.
Wow.
It's quite an adventure sometimes.
Yeah, that's fascinating.
Yep. So there you have it. All right, Iowa State.
Learning so much.
Iowa State has recovered well from their tournament in Florida to put out a couple big wins over DePaul and Iowa. I'm not trying to throw shade or anything, but I do feel like Iowa State maybe hasn't had a ton of big tests. Of course, they did play Virginia Tech and A&M in Florida, some Power 5 schools, but they are seeming to be rounding into form now. They have Prairie View A&M, Florida A&M, Eastern Illinois, and New Hampshire coming up still before they get into Big 12 play, which will be an absolute onslaught. But what's your thoughts on Iowa State so far? They're looking pretty good. TJ's kind of seems like he's got them coming together at the right time.
Yeah, it's almost like I never saw this coming, just knowing TJ, because he recruited me out of South Dakota State. He's always had similar teams that they're very defensive heavy and really committed on that end. I mean, they're put up points this year, man. Now
yeah.
It's a lot more fun to watch. In the past years, I'll never flat out come out and say I cheer for Iowa State, but I always enjoy watching them just because they're an Iowa school because I want to see how they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And this year it just feels a little different. Like they have guys that are able to put the ball in the basket together. Like they've always had one guy that's able to be, that shot creator or make a shot when they need it or shoot it from three. But I feel like this year they just have a lot of parts that just move really well for them to score the ball as a whole. And their offense is just, it's as best it has been at Iowa State in the TJ era so far. But yeah, I wouldn't be shy. I mean, I think this team gets the NCAA tournament. I think they're probably mid-pack in the Big 12. I don't see them making a huge run in the Big 12 just because how dominant their teams are going to be in the Big 12 this year.
Brutal.
Yeah, it's going to be a nightly test. I think hands down, Big 12 is going to be the best conference this year. I'm curious to see how Houston's going to do their first year in the Big 12. But yeah, I know Iowa State's looked good. I've been really impressed. It doesn't shock me at all. TJ is a really great coach. You've seen it, what he's been able to do at Iowa State through the years, just his short amount of time. He's changed his program drastically in just a few short years. So, I'm happy for them. I've always enjoyed, watching a program, as much as I hate to say it because it's Iowa State, but I've always enjoyed a program that comes from, not really, they didn't come from it, but a few years ago they were, they won one game or whatever in conference play or 0 games. I don't even remember what it was, but there ended up being, a really powerhouse again. And that's cool to see, just to see a coach come in, recruit some guys, get some transfers, able to change the program drastically in a few years. That's respectable by anyone that loves basketball, in my opinion.
Yeah. I was watching the replay of the Iowa State game the other night, and Taman Lipsey was at the free throw line, and I just had this thought, like, I bet this is really cool for him. Kind of like you grew up close to Iowa City. You got to go play for the Hawks. I bet a lot of your home games you got to live out the dream that you wanted to do, like close to home. You probably had a ton of family and friends that could always see your games at the next level. He's an Ames kid getting to play at Iowa State. He's having a great year. I bet this is just like an absolutely awesome, like probably his most favorite time he's ever had in his life right now. He is playing really well. He's probably one of the more underrated point guards in the country currently, not getting a ton of talk about right now.
Yeah, I think if he's able to take this team to NCAA tournament, make a deep run, he's arguably one of the top point guards in the country just by, I don't know about numbers standpoint compared to other point guards, but just leadership, able to get a team move in the right direction. You can just see they have a guy that everyone is trusting with, their lives right now on the court. And that's powerful, like we just talked about with Iowa, because when you're missing it, things just go south really quickly. And I don't see that with Iowa State. You saw the passion they played with in the Iowa State game. As much as I hated to see them, get blown out by 25, it's cool to see so much passion in that rivalry. It brings back so many good memories. Like I was watching, I was actually working out the first half because I just had so much adrenaline going. I did the same thing last year. I went to go to the gym and shoot, and I was, I'm just watching the game. I'm like, man, like thinking back in that moment of being an Iowa kid, like you're talking about Taman, and like just living out your dream. There's no better feeling in the world to be like on that Iowa State court, right, or in his case on an Iowa court in that rivalry's spot. I guess in his case Iowa State court, but just being in that moment right there, like you're exactly right. He probably doesn't realize it right now, but and a few short years, same thing with Peyton and all the other guys that are on the court too. That's something that they're gonna remember for the rest of their lives, and that's the coolest feeling in the world looking back that you're able to take part in such a cool Cy-Hawk rivalry.
Yeah. I know I heard John Miller. He talked about this with Chris when him and Chris did a pod together following the Cy-Hawk game. But and I have thought this a little too, that I do think Iowa State, if Lipsey keeps playing at a high level, and Momcilovic, if he's a good shooter throughout the season, if Robert Jones can step up and play consistently, a good role in the post, I do think Iowa State has the team that, they Elite Eight, potentially Final Four. If they get hot, they could make a run. We're going to find out in the Big 12 what happens, but I do think they have the talent. I'm not saying it'll happen, but I wouldn't be shocked, I guess, to see them at least Sweet 16, Elite Eight, probably.
Yeah, I mean, they have a bunch of guys that just hoop. They have a bunch of strong post players, a bunch of strong athletic wings. Obviously, they have Lipsy, like we've been talking about, the point guard position. They have all the pieces to make a run. I 100% agree with you. And they have a really great coach with TJ. So Iowa State they're looking really good and looking really promising. They just got to get through the grind of the conference play. As you know, I'll be the first one to say, if it can be a grueling grind, and no matter how good of a team you are, there's going to be droughts in a season where you're going to just feel like complete, crap after games, and you have to another game back to back, and I'm doing it 20 times in a year. That takes a huge toll on a lot of guys. So if they're able to just endure the long season, they're perfectly set up to make a run in the NCAA tournament.
Sure. Well, they start off Big 12 play at Oklahoma, and then the next game is a home one with Houston. So those teams are tough and physical, and we're going to find out a lot in those first two games. And then versus Oklahoma State, and then at BYU. So 3 of their first 4 games, according to current rankings, like as we're talking right now, against ranked teams. So we're going to find out quickly. It's going to be fun to see.
Yeah, those. I forgot about BYU too. I mean, you look at the teams in the Big 12. It's just
Baylor, Kansas. It's insane.
Yeah.
All right. Well, one more thing to get to here before we move on to some quick football chatter and some other stuff to end it. We were talking about TJ, and we talked a little bit about Fran. TJ very stoic on the sidelines, doesn't react a lot. Fran kind of the opposite. We had talked a little bit before we started recording about touching on the Fran technicals. So take it away, buddy.
Wow, you just dive right into that.
Sorry.
No, I feel like through the years, especially since I've been out, he's had a few situations where he got technicals in really bad spots of the games in the past 2 years. And there's been that discussion, and we talked about this last night a little bit. Of us want to touch on it, of just, how much of an impact do those technicals have? Obviously, he got 2 of them, so he got thrown out of the game. Statistics are probably in Michigan's favor that they're going to win and break that thing open even more without the opposing head coach. I mean, talk all you want. Players do play. They're the ones that play. They're the ones that make an impact, but coaches make a huge difference. So, that was obviously a huge impact in the game. The thing is, and take this for whatever it's worth, Iowa State fans, whoever is taking this a certain way, the guy has a passion for the Hawks, and I'll always 100% back the guy because of the opportunity he gave me and let me live out a dream of mine. But he wants to win, and if you have a coach that isn't like that, you can say he makes excuses for the refs all the time. He's always on them. It's always the refs' fault. I mean, you can say what you want. He wants to win games, and when you have a coach like that, I don't think you can harp on it too much because he just wants to win. And when you're wanting to do that, I don't think there's a downside to any behavior. Obviously, there's a line not to cross. I think Michigan's head coach made aware what that line is a few years ago. But I don't know. I don't think it's that huge a deal. I mean, he got thrown out of games, so I'll probably get fined a little bit. But at the end of the day, he wants to win and wants the players to do well. And I don't see a problem with that ever.
Yeah. You hear, there's a lot of, I don't know. I'm someone, I'm kind of on the same boat as you. Sometimes it fires the team up. You got to get one occasionally, but you just hear so many people trash and Fran after that stuff happens. And I'm sure that there's a lot of people who like how the stoic coaches on the sidelines handle things, but there's also a lot of coaches that equally scream and yell as much as Fran that don't get teed up. And so I think their reputation to some people isn't as bad as Fran's, but Fran's not screaming and yelling and going nuts as much as, like, in my opinion, Brad Underwood, Tom Izzo, Bill Self gets a little fired up at times. There's a lot of them that do. it is what it is from coaches. Some are a little more fiery, some aren't. But I'm with you. It's not the end of the world to me.
No. It'd be one thing if he was doing it and there's no other coaches doing it, and there'd also be another thing if he was like the worst at doing it. I don't know why he gets that reputation of that he is. He's not. Just go along the list of coaches out there that are Power 5 college basketball coaches and see what they've done. I mean, Juwan Howard literally hit someone, and it's still talked about how Fran McCaffrey's a bad character because he is on refs all the time. And let me be the first one to say those fuckers in stripes deserve every single scream and every single spit that gets from McCaffrey's mouth from screaming at them. They deserve it all because they're corrupt. They're an industry that needs to be reformed in, and they need to be put in, federal prison.
Yep. Well said. Well said. You wanted to address some Juwan Howard rumors quick. I wonder I don't know. Michigan it's interesting. Like, what do you think's going on there?
I don't know. I don't know if you were on social media because I know we didn't talk too much after the game. Dude, I was seeing some stuff. I don't know if it's true or not, but it's just bizarre. There's rumors of him having an altercation with the strength coach allegedly, and I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if the rumors were true and if the strength coach actually wasn't there. I have no idea. I'm just reading off just what some people said on social media, so take it with a grain of salt, obviously. But I don't know. It was just bizarre because Michigan just came off the win. Juwan Howard was just back. He was sitting on the bench. He obviously wasn't coaching, but he was on the bench, and then not even 2 hours after the game, dude. It was just like a weird turn of events that I don't know if it's true. Obviously, it's all allegedly, but who knows?
Apparently, if you coach sports at Michigan, you turn into a bit of a goof. Oh, man. Well, I guess time will tell. What a spot for them, though. If Howard can't coach, they have Phil Martelli, who was a great Division I basketball coach for a lot of years. Gosh, I still remember. I think he was I hope I'm not wrong in saying this. I think he was the coach at St. Joe's when they had Jameer Nelson and Delonte West. I could be wrong, but I think he was. Man, those teams were fun to watch. You were just a little baby. And I remember watching their teams in the 2000s. That was fun. So, yeah, what a blessing for them to have Martelli to step in when Howard can't coach.
Martelli's a legend. I've had great interactions with him. He's a mastermind of the game of basketball. Just a wealth of knowledge.
Right on. All right. Well, let's move on here before we wrap up before too long to a little bit of football chatter. Obviously not a lot going on right now as the Hawks get ready for the old Citrus Bowl. There's been a lot of interaction on social media and people wondering what in the world is going on with Cooper Dejean. Is he staying? Is he going? He's had some interesting comments on Instagram Live and things he's been doing there. I'm going to put it out there right now. Not because of anything that he said on social media, I just have a hunch. It's something in my body that tells me he's coming back for one last ride. These small town Iowa boys that grow up dreaming of playing for the Hawks, it's our pro team. We don't have anything else, but we have the Hawks or the Cyclones. And when you grow up, like I said, he's 25, 30 miles down the road from me in a little farming community like I am. When you dream of playing for the Hawks and it finally happens, that is hard to walk away from. And you look at all the guys who have come back when they could have gone pro. It's all high school Iowa boys who dreamed of playing for the Hawks. And something tells me that it's just not sitting well with him, that he got injured. Apparently him and Xavier Nwankpa are like super tight. I could see him wanting to play one more year with Xavier. I don't know. Something tells me he's coming back, man.
Yeah, you kind of get that feeling. I don't know. Just how he grew up. You're exactly right. I'm just trying to think about my mind because I was an Iowa kid as well. I didn't, I enjoyed every single second of it. So I'm sure that this decision is tolling on him a lot because he was cut short of a year. And anytime that happens to any guy, that's really tough to watch, especially him though, because you look at his background, Iowa kid, and wanted to play for Iowa, dreamed of playing for Iowa, and his season was cut short, and he is in the midst of being making a lot of money in professional football.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to be shocked if he does come back. I honestly think you're 100% correct that he is going to come back. I have that hunch too. It just doesn't feel, just even talking about it, doesn't even feel right that he would, leave next year just because of how his season ended here. It's almost like he's deserving a one full final year.
Yep, man. When he's back home for Christmas, I kind of want to drive over there and see if I can convince him to give me the inside scoop. And if he does go or stay, let me break the news on social media. But I have a highly doubtful feeling that that'll happen.
Well, maybe. Just show up on his doorstep on Christmas Day.
With some Pedersen steaks. Say, these could be yours for the low price of letting me know what you're thinking. In other Iowa football news, something that is, I wanted to shout out, something that is near and dear to my heart, as I've told you and all the people listening, is offensive line play. When I grew up, there was one man that I wanted to be like. There was one man who absolutely destroyed everything in his path when he played for the Hawks, and that was Robert Gallery. Are you familiar?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so Robert Gallery was a Hawk when I was in high school, and I'm telling you, his film is absurd. He road graded people. He didn't give up a sack. He literally didn't even give up quarterback pressure from the left side. Iowa's quarterbacks during his time knew that they were good. No one was going to bother them from the backside. And he recently got inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame. Well-deserved. So I just wanted to shout him out and say congrats. I would love to talk to him and have him as a guest on the pod sometime. I think that'd be incredible. I'm telling you, like, if you pulled 100 Iowa fans who are like 30 and over who have seen like Gallery's days to now, I think 95 out of 100 are going to say Gallery is the best lineman in Iowa history. I don't think anyone can really compete. I know Linderbaum, Wirfs, his teammate Eric Steinbach have all been amazing, but Gallery is the clear number one in my opinion. That guy was a freak in college.
That guy's a legend, dude.
Yeah.
Legend.
Man. Gosh, he made me want to just kill people when I played O-line. I wanted to be like him, just destroy people's lives. So shout out to him. I wish I would have grown the hair long in high school like he had it. He had it all long. And I think the sign of a good lineman is like long, greasy hair or maybe like scroty facial hair, and you're just absolutely super ugly. And you're just really good at what you do. That's a sign of a good lineman right there.
There's a few babyface. Linderbaum was kind of a babyface.
Yeah, he was. So shout out to Robert Gallery, College Football Hall of Fame. That's a big deal. Man, what an absolute stud when he played for the Hawks.
Those were like prime, like hard-nosed Iowa Big Ten football. You want to talk about this year being hard-nosed football, but those years, man.
Yeah. One of the best, one of the 10 best in my opinion. I'm not going to like actually go and try to do all this research, but I feel like it's got to be one of the 10 greatest offensive lines in college football history. You had Robert Gallery and Eric Steinbach, who are both, I don't know if Steinbach is yet. He probably will be a College Football Hall of Famer. Steinbach was All-Pro, Pro Bowl in the NFL. Bruce Nelson was the center, played in the NFL. You had Gallery. I mean, the lines with those guys were unreal. That was when like the bullies of the big started with those guys. And then on defense, you had Matt Roth, who never knew what that guy was going to do. A few screws loose. Just unbelievable defense. The bullies of the big started right there with those guys.
I forgot what I was going to say. I was really excited to ask the question. I forgot. Who was the offensive lineman coach that year?
Oh my gosh. O-line coach. It could have been Reese Morgan.
Reese Morgan.
He was around for a long time as the O-line coach. And then he was the guy like every kind of wasn't recruited. No one really knew about recruit that turned out to be a stud Hawkeye. Every single one of them was like, yeah, Reese Morgan, he found me. I don't know how, but he showed up at my high school and talked to me, and the rest is history. Gosh, we missed that guy a lot. He was so good.
What was Brian Ferentz? Was he?
He was
before or after that.
Brian, I think, came in 06.
playing wise?
I think he was like 05 to 08, I want to say.
Okay.
He came right after those guys.
Yeah.
So, man, Iowa had a nice run of offensive lines there.
Woo. You know what's weird? I remember like those days watching football when I was like 6 to 9, like 6 to 8 range, more than I remember watching football and as a high schooler. Is that weird to say?
No.
You know what I mean, though? Like,
oh, I do, yeah. Those young sports, man, you remember it.
Yeah.
When I was that little,
I had great teams at those my high school years too. That was the CJ Beathard years too.
Yep, Beathard. Oh man, gosh, those teams were so much fun. Hopefully, we'll get back to that. I feel like we're going to get back to that next year.
I mean, we were right there as much as I know. We already talked about it. We were.
Yep. That's why Coop's coming back. He's going to win the Heisman and lead us to the playoff.
He's going to play all offense next year.
Yep. Oh man. All right. Gosh, I wanted to get to a soup ranking because it's winter, but do you think we have time?
Up to you.
All right. If they get mad at us for going a little over an hour, they can take it out of my pay. All right. It's winter. It is soup season. I have my Mount Rushmore soup. Do you have any idea what your top 4 soups are?
I only have.
Maybe you're not an insane food lover like I am.
No,
So I've got lists for everything.
No, I am. I just soup. I only stick with my 2 really.
Which are?
Tomato and chicken noodle. I don't go outside that.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. Those 2 are legendary.
I mean, I'll have some clam chowder when I'm on the east or west coast just to, feel what the fish are popping like over there. But other than that, I stick with my little home with soup.
Dude, tomato soup, little grilled cheese to dip in it and eat with it. Legendary.
Little crispy grilled cheese.
Now we're talking. All right, I got my Mount Rushmore soup. My all-time number 1, and I don't know if a lot of people would have this as their number 1, but this is hands down my number 1, French onion soup.
Oh.
That's the reaction I get from a lot of people.
I feel like I just took a tequila
it's so
shot.
Good. Oh man, it's so good. So that's my number 1. My buddy's wife Nicole makes this soup, sausage tortellini soup.
Ooh, that sounds good.
Oh my gosh, it's unbelievable. It'd blow your mind. It's my number 2. My number 3 is my own homemade chili. I love my homemade chili recipe.
I like chili. I wouldn't classify chili as a soup though, would you?
Oh, well, I put it on my list.
Well, I guess what else would it be?
I don't know, a stew.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. And cinnamon roll with it. Dip the cinnamon roll in the chili.
Okay, that is wild.
You don't do that?
Cinnamon roll with chili?
Yeah.
How does that even happen?
Oh.
Who told you to do that?
So Hassel and Williams had this debate like 2 months ago, but it was a staple in my high school, and so many people I know did it. But then there's so many people that are like, what?
Are those
you serve
people
the cinnamon roll with the chili, you pull off a piece and you dip it in there and you eat that? Unbelievable. We're doing it sometime together. You got to try it.
Are those people okay mentally now?
I feel like I'm all there. At least 78% there. You know what I do sometimes? If I want to get crazy, put a cinnamon roll in the bottom of my bowl, dump chili over it, and then just cut the pieces out and eat it while it's in the bowl.
That is wild and really foul.
All right. And then my number 4 is pho. The famous Thai soup, pho. So good. Are you an Asian
what this
food
reminds
fan?
me of? I've never had that before, but I know what you're talking about.
Okay, it's so good, dude.
Yeah. I've heard good things about it.
Yep.
I like egg drop soup. This just reminded me.
Ooh, egg drop's delicious.
I like egg drop. Yep.
Yes.
Hot and sour. I could do hot and sour. What sweet hot and sour soup?
Hot and sour.
Yeah. I like those. I like those too.
Love it.
Egg drop is phenomenal though.
Oh. It is so good, man. I love talking food. All right. Sometime when you and I are together, I got to introduce you to chili with cinnamon rolls.
I'm not doing it.
You got to at least try it.
No, I'm not doing it.
All right. Fair. One thing I wanted to mention quick that I saw, quick national. Oh, geez, Louise, my tweet went away. Since 2004, 100% of the college basketball national champions have been ranked in the top 12 of the Week 6 AP poll. So currently, that is Oklahoma, Baylor, Tennessee, Arizona, Butler. Is that Butler?
Wow.
Yeah. UConn, Kansas, Marquette, Purdue, Creighton, Houston, and North Carolina. So if history is accurate, one of those 12 going to be your champ.
Well, just looking off the blue blood school, that was it last year's Final Four. I'm so bad at the Final Fours. As soon as they happen, I just forget who.
Last year,
It was Florida Atlantic and
UConn. UConn won it all.
UConn.
It was Florida Atlantic, San Diego State, UConn, and who did UConn beat to get there? They beat Gonzaga in the Elite Eight, but I don't remember who they beat to get to the Final Four.
If anyone, all my friends are like this.
Or
too,
I don't remember who they beat in the Final Four. I mean, sorry.
Yeah, you just forget about the Final Four. Like you don't even remember who's in the. You talk about teams want to get the Final Four. You don't remember it.
Nope. Don't remember it at all.
That was a joke, guys. That was a joke.
All right. Well, can I do a little self-plug here in our ending as we close out?
Go for it.
So this is Iowa. This is Iowa Everywhere. And so I have another podcast that I do. It's called Backroads and Bonfires. Jordan has been on it. This is how we met and kind of became buddies. Recently, I had on the Iowa Gallivant. So for you Iowa lovers out there, people who love the state of Iowa, you should go check out that episode. It is like an hour and 20 minutes of like a virtual vacation through Iowa via all the best food places to eat and cool things that the state has to offer. So people should check that out. It's called Backroads and Bonfires with Adam Pedersen and friends. But don't just listen to that episode. Listen to all of them. It's like a nostalgia bomb for 90s kids. And it's a great podcast. We do lists, rankings, pop culture, random conversations. We talk about what bothers us. It's a good time.
You have a lot of great guests on there. I will give you that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You might be number one.
Oh,
because it led to this. So you're forever going to be number one.
Thank you.
Yep. All right. You got anything to plug? Anything exciting coming up?
Let's have a good week.
Yes.
Let's have a great week.
Let's have a great week. Let's win some basketball, and let's make some Memz.
Yeah. I got good. I still got good hopes for this Iowa basketball team.
Yeah.
I think good days are ahead. Everyone calm down.
Great bounce back opportunity. And if for some reason it doesn't get better, just remember there's more to life than sports. I used to not think that, but I posted after Twitter was just melting down after these last few games. And I posted like, let's just still be happy. It's the Christmas season. Let's find some joy. There's other things in life to do that can bring you joy besides sports. At the end of the day, it's going to be okay. And I'm also talking to myself while I'm saying that.
Well, I have to talk to myself too about that too, because everyone happens. It happens to everyone.
Yep.
It does.
All right. Well, we love all of you. Thanks for listening. Check out Terraplex Ag. If you're going to buy seed, buy it from Channel Seed. And also check out the Iowa Event Center if you want to have some good family-friendly entertainment or go to an awesome comedy show or concert coming up. Check out all those people. We love them all. They are great supporters of us. Until then, keep making Memz, and we'll see you next time.